Hello and welcome to Really Dicey. Today we have another episode of our Kickstarter Watch, where we watch Kickstarter and tell you about the interesting projects coming up. So what have you got for us, Manny?
Well, the first thing that interests me for the month of April 2021 is One Night at the End. A company named Status Effect Games LLC is coming out with looks like a book called One Night at the End. It looks like it's going to be a small book, and it's a very cool, interesting idea. I know this happened to me many times. The idea is encounters at an inn. It'll feature like 6 inns, a bunch of random tables, encounters, 13 battle maps, at least 20 NPCs. So I'm interested in this because I don't know, I'm sure you, Matt, have experience where most of your adventures, like you plan an adventure, but everything just takes place at the end and things just go haywire. And I think especially for new game masters, I think it's good to have something backed up and ready in case your adventure just never leaves never leaves the
never got out
outside.
Of the end.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing on my radar is called tabletop traveling trays. So these are beautiful wooden trays made to hold your dice, your cards, your counters. You can take them with you, and then they're held together with magnets. So you pull them apart, you open them up, and you've got a tray on one side, and you've got your dice and your pencils and your cards on one side, on the other side, and they're really finely crafted and put together. They're really pretty. They're, some of them say shiny math rocks on the outside. There's some nice logos there. Campaign's got, as of now, it's got 18 days to go, and it's just past its goal. So now's your chance to get in on something that will definitely see the light of day, barring disaster.
The next one I want to talk about is Inferno, Dante's Guide to Hell for 5e. I'm a big fan of Dante's work, and those books are really, I don't know, at least for me, they're fun to read. Good sense of like storytelling and poetry. This is a really massive project. This is by Atron Books. But yeah, they're coming out with these looks like 3 books, a bunch of maps, a game master screen. They're really going all out. They have like a sort of a player's handbook that goes along with it, and a monster manual. And again, what the purpose of this is that you're actually gonna go through a 5e version of the Divine Comedy. So it just sounds, to me, fantastic. The art, it just looks so good. It looks horrifying. I love it.
Wow, sounds great. Particularly if they have a section where, you can put people you don't like in hell. It's Dante's thing, right? Yeah. Speaking of monsters, next thing on my list is called Monsters from the Public Domain. It's a collection of monsters for 5e, and these monsters are all taken from 1960s monster movies. So those old black and white movies where they took a picture of a lizard, took footage of a lizard and then blew it up really large and put it next to some small toy cars. So that's the sort of thing you can get. All these great monsters have come into the public domain, the giant bugs and the crawling eyeball and all these famous movies and monsters that you may know. And the guy who's running this, the company's called Dice Monster Dice, and the gentleman's called Derek M. Coach, and he is just so enthusiastic. He's put so much work into this. He's a huge fan of these movies, and he's really done his research. He's looked up all sorts of things about the making of these movies. There's a Gila monster movie where, the monster is a giant Gila monster, the lizard. And he's looked up all sorts of facts to see how big the monster is supposed to be in the movie. But he's done more than that. He's watched the movie frame by frame and measured the monster next to the little cars to try to work out how big it is.
Wow.
This is the level of detail he's talking about. For instance, he said that the Gila monster in the movie isn't actually a Gila monster. They used the footage of a Mexican bearded lizard. So when he works out his stats, he's going to be looking at the Mexican bearded lizard, beaded lizard. So that just gives you some idea of just the almost obsessive amount of detail he's going to put into this.
Apotheosis Studios is coming out for a new book called Sirens, Battle of the Bards. And it's coming out on Kickstarter April 22nd. There's not much that they've shared yet what this book's going to be about, but I have a feeling that it's going to be just like their last book, The Red Opera, which focuses on warlocks. Obviously, it sounds like this is going to focus on bards. So I'm very intrigued at what they're going to do. The Red Opera is a fantastic book. It's beautiful, well put together. So I'm really excited to see what this book's going to be about.
Yeah, cool. Speaking of things to be excited about, Onyx Path Publishing has done it again. They have picked up another old White Wolf license. This time, it's not the World of Darkness. It's a game called Adventure. And this was the first in a series of 3 linked games called the Trinity Continuum. The idea of this game is pulp heroes. It's set in an alternate 1920s, and you play heroes, extraordinary people who were changed by this experiment gone wrong and given these strange powers. So you have characters like Doc Savage and John Carter of Mars, those sort of characters. It was a great game. I played the original way back when, and it was a lot of fun. And because it was White Wolf, there was, of course, this big involved meta story with all these interesting characters and all this little background. And this game was the first game in the timeline. The second game is Aberrant, which is a straight up superhero game. The pulp heroes have kind of evolved into superheroes. So you're playing superheroes and there's all these superhero organizations and everything. And then the third game is called Trinity, and that's a science fiction game where the superheroes have kind of evolved into these sort of psychic, telepaths and all these other aliens. And, each game has its own different feel, but they're in this sort of continuum. So it really makes this fantastic package. And of course, if they're putting out Adventure, it's a damn good bet that they're going to put out the other 2, Aberrant and Trinity. And I think that's, really something to look forward to.
My last thing that I recommend that looks really interesting to me coming out Kickstarter is the creators behind Big Eyes and Small Mouth is coming out with a 5e version of their system called Anime 5e. Big Eyes Small Mouth D20 Fantasy Role Playing. It's coming out on March 30th. We talked about how great the Big Eyes Small Mouth system is. So I'm very curious to see how they convert everything to D20. I'm very curious what they're going to do with like races and classes and so forth. So I'm going to keep my eye on it and see. Very curious to see what they're going to come out. Hopefully, maybe we should interview the creator, Mark McCannon, about it. That would be pretty cool because I'm very curious what they're going to do with this book exactly.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to look at that, to look into that. What do they consider to be the core of anime that they can take into 5e?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, anyway, there you go. There's some things for you to go check out on Kickstarter. Links down in the description. And while you're down there, like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you're excited about. So we'll see you next time.